Black boy overheard guard speaking Japanese and warned the CEO not to get in the car. The bomb will explode in 15 minutes. The guard's low voice echoed through the corporate parking garage as 12-year-old James Carter pretended to tie his shoelace near a concrete pillar. His heart hammered against his ribs. Those words in Japanese, spoken casually, confidently, meant someone was about to die. The 3 security guards stationed at TechCore Industries, all wearing crisp uniforms and earpieces, spoke in rapid Japanese just 20 feet from the armored black Mercedes. They had no idea the skinny black kid crouched by the elevator understood every word they said. James had been waiting for his mother, Linda Carter, who worked as a night janitor on the 40th floor. She'd asked him to meet her in the parking garage at 9 p.m. so they could take the bus home together. He'd arrived early, as always, using the time to study vocabulary for tomorrow's quiz. But now, frozen against the cold concrete, every Japanese word he'd learned from Mr. Tanaka over the past 4 years suddenly mattered more than any test ever would. "What does Fukuda think?" one guard asked in Japanese. "He's keen." "The plan is perfect," another responded in the same language. James's mind raced. They were talking about Mr. Richard Kemp, the CEO of TechCore Industries. The same man who'd walked past James dozens of times without ever making eye contact. The same man whose face was plastered on business magazines in the lobby with headlines like, "Tech Titan Revolutionizes AI Security." The guards switched positions, checking their watches with synchronized precision. One of them, the tallest, with a scar above his left eyebrow, pulled out a phone and typed something quickly. James caught a glimpse of the screen. "Target leaving building 2115. All clear." It was 9:03 p.m. James's hands trembled as he gripped his backpack straps. His mother had taught him to mind his own business, to stay invisible, to never get involved in white people problems. But this wasn't about race or business or staying in his lane. This was about someone dying. The elevator dinged behind him. James spun around to see his mother emerging, pushing a cleaning cart loaded with supplies. She spotted him and smiled, exhausted but warm. "Baby, you been waiting long?" Linda asked, her voice carrying that bone-deep tiredness of someone who just scrubbed toilets for 8 hours. James opened his mouth, but no sound came. His eyes darted between his mother and the guards, who had now moved closer to the Mercedes, still speaking in hushed Japanese. "Time's up," one of them said in Japanese. One guard reached into his jacket. James saw the bulge. Not a gun, something else. A detonator, maybe. Or a phone to trigger whatever they'd planted in that car. "Mom," James whispered urgently, grabbing her arm. "We need to find Mr. Kemp. Right now." Linda frowned, glancing at the clock on the wall. "Baby, we got a bus to catch. And Mr. Kemp don't want to be bothered by." "Please." James's voice cracked. "Someone's going to die." Something in his face made Linda stop. She'd raised this boy alone since his father left when he was 2. She knew every expression, every tone. And she'd never heard terror like this. "What did you hear?" she asked quietly. "Japanese," James breathed. "Those guards. They're talking about a bomb in Mr. Kemp's car. He's supposed to leave at 9:15. That's 12 minutes from now." Linda's eyes widened. She looked at the guards, who were now checking the perimeter with casual confidence. Then back at her son. "You sure about what you heard?" "I'm sure, Mom. Mr. Tanaka taught me. I understood every word." Linda Carter had worked at TechCore Industries for 6 years. She'd cleaned Richard Kemp's office, emptied his trash, scrubbed his private bathroom. She'd been invisible to him, just another face in the army of service workers who kept his empire running. Part of her wanted to let karma run its course. But she looked at her son, this brilliant gentle boy who taught himself Japanese using library books and YouTube videos because he dreamed of visiting Tokyo someday, and knew they didn't have a choice. 40th floor, Linda said, abandoning her cart. "His office. Come on." They moved quickly toward a different elevator, the service one that staff used. James glanced back at the guards, who were now positioned strategically around the Mercedes, hands near their belts. The elevator ride felt endless. James counted seconds in his head, each one bringing Mr. Kemp closer to death. His mother stood rigid beside him, jaw clenched. "If we're wrong." Linda started. "We're not wrong, Mom." The doors opened onto the executive floor. Plush carpet, modern art on walls, the smell of expensive coffee. Everything James's world wasn't. They ran down the hallway, Linda's worn sneakers squeaking against polished floors. James's backpack bounced against his shoulders, his math textbook and Japanese workbook weighing him down. At the end of the corridor, light spilled from an open office door. Through it, James could see a man in a tailored suit packing a briefcase, phone pressed to his ear, laughing at something the person on the other end said. Richard Kemp. 52 years old. Net worth estimated at $4.3 billion. 12 minutes away from dying. Linda hesitated at the doorway, years of conditioning making her shrink back. But James didn't stop. He burst into the office, breathing hard. "Mr. Kemp," he shouted. "Don't get in your car." Richard Kemp looked up, annoyed. His eyes swept over the black woman in a janitor's uniform and the skinny kid with the oversized backpack. His expression hardened. "Security," he said into his phone, voice cold. "We have a situation on 40. "Please," James gasped. "Your guards. The ones in the parking garage. They're speaking Japanese. They planted a bomb in your Mercedes. You're supposed to leave at 9:15 n. What is this?" Kemp cut him off, standing. He was tall, imposing, used to commanding rooms. "How dare you burst into my office with some insane story about bomb," James said desperately, switching to Japanese. "Explodes in 15 minutes. Fukuda. They said your name. They have a plan. The bomb goes off in." He checked the wall clock. 10 minutes. Kemp froze. His face drained of color. "You speak Japanese?" he asked slowly. "Yes, sir. Fluently. And I heard everything they said." For a long moment, Richard Kemp stared at this 12-year-old boy who just turned his world upside down. Then his executive brain clicked into gear. "Tell me exactly what you heard," he said. "Word for word." If you're wondering how a 12-year-old janitor's son learned fluent Japanese and whether his warning would be enough to stop a conspiracy that went deeper than anyone imagined, subscribe to the channel, because what happened next would prove that sometimes the most powerful people in the world owe their lives to those they never bothered to see. James took a deep breath, switching fully to Japanese as he recounted every word. "The bomb will explode in 15 minutes. What does Fukuda think? He's keen. The plan is perfect." He paused, then continued in English. "They mentioned someone named Fukuda. They said the plan is perfect. That you're leaving at 9:15. They have phones. I think to trigger the bomb remotely." Richard Kemp's hand tightened around his briefcase. His mind was already calculating, assessing threat levels, running through scenarios. He'd built a tech empire on pattern recognition and risk management. And every instinct screamed that this kid was telling the truth. "How long have you been learning Japanese?" Kemp asked, studying James with new intensity. 4 years, sir. Mr. Tanaka, he's my neighbor, he teaches me every Saturday. He used to work for Toyota in Nagoya before he retired here." Kemp pulled his phone, but instead of calling security, he opened his contacts. "Tanaka. Hiroshi Tanaka." James nodded, surprised. "You know him. He consulted for us 3 years ago on our Tokyo expansion." Kemp's fingers flew across his screen. "If he taught you, then your Japanese is legitimate." He looked at Linda, who stood protectively beside her son. "You're Linda Carter. Building services, night shift." "Yes, sir," Linda said, voice steady despite her racing heart. "You've worked here 6 years. Never late. Never complained. Your supervisor says you're the most reliable person on staff." Kemp's photographic memory for employee data was legendary. "And your son visits you every night to ride the bus home together." "That's right," Linda confirmed. Kemp made a decision. He pressed a button on his desk. "Patricia, cancel my car. Tell Stevens I'm working late. Do it now." He looked at James. "The guards in the garage. Describe them." 3 men. All Asian, probably Japanese. One tall with a scar above his left eye. One shorter, stocky build. One medium height with glasses. They're positioned around your Mercedes. Black sedan, license plate ending in 447. Kemp's face went white. That's my car. He pulled up security camera feeds on his computer. The garage appeared on screen, and there they were, 3 guards exactly as James described, standing near the Mercedes in positions that now looked less like protection and more like containment. Those aren't my regular security team, Kemp said quietly. My head of security, Thomas Rodriguez, hired them 2 weeks ago. They came with impeccable references from a firm in Osaka. He zoomed in on the tall guard's face. That's Kenji Yamamoto, former Japanese self-defense force. The file said he was looking for private sector work in the States. Sir, James said urgently, it's 9:08. We have 7 minutes. Kemp grabbed his desk phone. Rodriguez. My office. Now. He hung up and looked at James. If you're right, someone inside my own security apparatus is trying to kill me. If you're wrong, I'm about to humiliate 3 innocent men and possibly start an international incident. I'm not wrong, James said firmly. His hands had stopped shaking. He'd made his choice to speak up, and now he had to see it through. The office door burst open. Thomas Rodriguez entered, a muscular man in his 40s with military bearing. Sir, I was just coming to escort you to. The car's not leaving, Kemp interrupted. Rodriguez, those 3 Japanese guards you hired 2 weeks ago. The ones in the garage right now. Tell me about them. Rodriguez frowned. Yamamoto, Sato, and Ishida. All former military, excellent credentials. They came through Tanaka Security Solutions, a firm we've used before. He stopped, noticing James and Linda for the first time. Sir, who are these people? The ones who just saved my life, Kemp said. This boy overheard your 3 guards speaking Japanese in the garage. They're planning to detonate a bomb in my car at 9:15. Rodriguez's hand went to his sidearm. That's impossible. I vetted them personally. The background checks were they thorough enough? Kemp demanded. Did you verify their credentials with Tokyo? Or did you trust the paperwork? Rodriguez's silence was answer enough. His face darkened with fury, at himself, at the situation. I'll handle this. Lockdown protocol. We evacuate the building, call LAPD bomb squad. No time, Kemp said, checking his watch. It's 9:10. If they're watching the building, any sign of evacuation, and they trigger it early. We need to be smart about this. I can get to the garage through the service elevator, Linda offered quietly. They don't know we heard them. They won't see me as a threat. I can. Absolutely not, Kemp and Rodriguez said simultaneously. With respect, sir, Linda continued, I've been invisible in this building for 6 years. Those guards have watched me clean, mop, empty trash. They don't see me as a person, just part of the furniture. That's my advantage. James grabbed his mother's hand. Mom, no. You can't. Baby, if we don't do something, that bomb goes off. And not just Mr. Kemp dies. Anyone near that car when it explodes. Maybe other janitors coming off shift. Maybe security guards who don't know what's happening. Linda looked at her son with fierce love. You were brave enough to speak up. Now I have to be brave enough to act. Rodriguez pulled out his radio. I'll have my team. Your team might be compromised, Kemp said sharply. If 3 guards got through your vetting, how do we know there aren't others? We can't trust anyone except the people in this room right now. The walls felt like they were closing in. James's mind raced, trying to think of something, anything that could help. Then he remembered something from the conversation in the garage. They mentioned someone named Fukuda, James said. They asked what Fukuda thinks. The guard said he's keen. Like Fukuda is in charge of this. Kemp and Rodriguez exchanged glances. Sir, Rodriguez said carefully, Fukuda. That's Takeshi Fukuda, Kemp finished. My former business partner in Tokyo. We had a falling out 6 months ago over the sale of our joint venture. He claimed I cheated him out of $50 million. He sat down heavily. I didn't. But he didn't believe me. He swore he'd make me pay. So this is revenge, Rodriguez said. Or competition, Kemp replied. If I die, my company's stock plummets. His company, which holds similar patents, becomes the market leader. He makes back his money 100 times over. He looked at James with something between respect and wonder. And I would have walked right into it, if not for a kid who happened to speak Japanese. The clock on the wall read 9:12. 3 minutes, James said. Kemp made a decision. He opened his desk drawer and pulled out a small device, a signal jammer. This blocks all wireless signals in a 50-foot radius. If the bomb is remotely triggered, this should prevent the signal from reaching it. Should. Linda repeated. Should, Kemp confirmed. If it's hardwired or on a timer, we're out of luck. He handed it to Rodriguez. Take the service elevator. Get within range of my car. Activate this. Then get everyone away from the vehicle. Rodriguez nodded. And the 3 guards? Let them think everything is normal, Kemp said. For now. But as Rodriguez reached for the jammer, James had a terrible realization. Sir, wait. They said 9:15 is when you're supposed to leave. But what if that's not when the bomb goes off? What if they trigger it early as soon as they see you're not coming? Everyone froze. He's right, Linda said. They're watching the building. If you don't show up in 3 minutes, they'll know something's wrong. Kemp looked at the security feed again. The 3 guards were still in position, but now one of them, the one with glasses, was checking his phone repeatedly, glancing at the building entrance. They're waiting for you, James said. If you don't show up, they'll know. Then I show up, Kemp said, standing. Sir, that's suicide, Rodriguez protested. Not if we do it right. Kemp's mind was racing through scenarios, calculating angles. Rodriguez, you take the jammer. Get to the garage, activate it near my car. Linda, you go with him. If anyone sees you, you're just finishing your shift. James. I'm going too, James said immediately. Son, this is too dangerous. They don't know I understood them, James interrupted. I'm just a kid waiting for his mom. They won't pay attention to me. And I'm the only one here who can tell you if they say anything else in Japanese. Kemp studied this 12-year-old boy who'd already shown more courage than most adults he knew. Finally, he nodded. We have 2 minutes, he said. Let's move. What none of them knew as they headed toward the elevators was that Kenji Yamamoto, the tall guard with the scar, had just received a text message that would change everything. Because while they'd been talking in Kemp's office, someone else had been listening. And the conspiracy went deeper than 3 guards and a vengeful business partner. Far deeper than anyone in that building could imagine. The service elevator descended in tense silence. Rodriguez held the signal jammer, checking his weapon. Linda stood beside him, jaw set with determination. James pressed against the back wall, watching floor numbers tick down. 9:13 p.m. When we get there, Rodriguez said quietly, Linda, push your cart toward the exit like you're leaving. Natural. James, stay behind the pillar. If things go bad, I shout clear. You run. Don't look back. The elevator dinged. Doors opened onto the garage, and immediately James heard Japanese conversation drifting from the Mercedes. Not here yet, one guard said in Japanese. Contacted Fukuda, another responded in the same language. They'd already reported to Fukuda. If Kemp didn't show up soon, new orders might come. Linda grabbed her cart and began pushing it slowly toward the exit, every movement tired, exactly like every other night. Rodriguez moved through a maintenance corridor toward the Mercedes. James crouched behind his pillar, heart hammering. Then Yamamoto's phone buzzed. He answered in rapid Japanese. Yes. Understood. New plan, Yamamoto said in Japanese. He's not coming. Move now, another guard added in Japanese. Ishida pulled a modified phone from his pocket, a remote trigger. Rodriguez activated the jammer. Ishida pressed the button. The Mercedes didn't explode. Ishida frowned, pressed again. Nothing. He spoke sharply in Japanese to Yamamoto. Rodriguez stepped from behind the column, gun drawn. LAPD. Hands where I can see them. All 3 guards spun toward him. Linda rammed her cleaning cart into Sato, hitting him at knee level. He went down hard, head cracking against concrete. Mom. James screamed. Yamamoto and Ishida drew weapons. Rodriguez fired twice. Yamamoto's gun skittered away. Ishida dove behind the Mercedes. The car. Linda shouted. If they shoot near the gas tank. Everyone understood. The bomb might not detonate remotely, but bullets could still set it off. Rodriguez threw the jammer at the Mercedes. It hit the hood with a metallic thunk. Jammers at the car. Rodriguez shouted. It's blocking signals. Ishida popped up and fired 3 shots. The third hit the jammer dead center. Sparks flew. The device split apart. In the chaos, Yamamoto made his call. Fukuda. We failed, he said in Japanese. James heard the response through the phone. Then Plan B. The building, came the reply in Japanese. They're going to blow up the building. James screamed. Plan B. There's another bomb in the building. Rodriguez fired at Yamamoto, hitting his shoulder. The phone clattered away. But the message had been sent. Where in the building? Rodriguez demanded. He just said building, James said. 40th floor, Linda said suddenly. Mr. Kemp's office. 2 weeks ago, right when those guards got hired, there was construction. They said HVAC updates. But I clean HVAC vents. Those weren't HVAC workers. The car bomb was a decoy. The real target was Kemp's office. Rodriguez grabbed his radio. All units, evacuate now. Bomb threat, 40th floor. Static crackled. Sir, we can't evacuate. Buildings on lockdown. Someone activated security protocol. All elevators frozen. Stairwell doors sealed. Who activated it? According to the system. You did, sir. 5 minutes ago. Rodriguez hadn't. Someone with security access was ensuring everyone inside would die. The service elevator, James said. Separate system, right? Independent power supply, Rodriguez confirmed. Then we can still reach the 40th floor. Rodriguez zip-tied all 3 wounded guards. We have maybe 10 minutes before that bomb goes off. We're coming with you, Linda said. Behind them, Yamamoto shouted in Japanese. You don't have time. 12 minutes. The bomb explodes in 12 minutes. They ran for the service elevator. Doors opened immediately. They piled inside. Rodriguez hit 40. As the elevator climbed, Rodriguez said, Linda, take us to where they did the HVAC work. James, if you hear anything, tell me. The elevator climbed. 20. 30. 35. 40. Doors opened onto the executive floor. Empty. Everyone had left. Somewhere here, Richard Kemp was waiting. And somewhere, a bomb was counting down. This way, Linda whispered, moving down the corridor. Northwest corner. Behind Mr. Kemp's office. Main ventilation hub. They reached a door marked Maintenance, Authorized Personnel Only. Linda pushed it open. Inside was HVAC equipment, electrical panels, ventilation ducts. And sitting in the center of the main duct, wired to enough C4 to bring down half the building, was the bomb. A digital timer glowed red. 10:47. 10:46. 10:45. 10 minutes and 45 seconds to disarm a bomb none of them knew how to disarm. And Richard Kemp was 20 feet away in his office, with no idea death was counting down behind his walls. Rodriguez stared at the device, face pale. I'm not a bomb tech. I don't know how to. Then we get Mr. Kemp and evacuate, Linda said. The building's locked down, Rodriguez reminded her. Stairwells sealed. We're trapped up here. James looked at the bomb, then at the ventilation system. His mind raced through everything he'd learned, everything he'd watched, everything Mr. Tanaka had taught him about thinking clearly under pressure. The lockdown, James said suddenly. It has to be controlled from somewhere. A security terminal. Kemp's office, Rodriguez said. He has master access to all building systems. They had 10 minutes to reach Richard Kemp, unlock the building, and get everyone out before the bomb turned the 40th floor into a crater. And somewhere in Tokyo, Takashi Fukuda was watching the clock, waiting for confirmation that his revenge was complete. They burst into Richard Kemp's office. He was still at his desk, phone in hand, looking startled. Rodriguez, what the hell? Bomb in the maintenance room, Rodriguez cut him off. 10 minutes. Buildings on lockdown. Someone with security access sealed us in. Kemp's face went white. He dropped his phone and moved to his computer, fingers flying across the keyboard. I can override the lockdown from here. It'll take 2 minutes to process through all the safety protocols. We don't have 2 minutes. Linda said. That bomb goes off, this whole floor collapses. Then we buy time, Rodriguez said. He looked at James. You said Fukuda is behind this. He's in Tokyo, right? Can he trigger the bomb remotely? The jammer's destroyed, James said. But maybe he doesn't know that. Kemp understood immediately. He grabbed his phone, pulled up his contacts, found Takashi Fukuda's number. His finger hovered over the call button. If I call him, Kemp said slowly, and he realizes I'm still alive, he might trigger it early. Or, James said, he might want to gloat. Bad guys always want to gloat, right? That's what happens in movies. This isn't a movie, son, Rodriguez said. No, Kemp replied, but the boy's right. Fukuda has an ego the size of Tokyo. If he thinks I'm about to die, he'll want me to know it was him. He pressed call. The phone rang once. Twice. Then a voice answered in Japanese. Kemp. Still alive. Fukuda said in Japanese. James translated in a whisper. He's asking if you're still alive. Takashi, Kemp said, voice steady despite the timer counting down. I know what you did. The guards. The bombs. All of it. A pause. Then Fukuda laughed. 9 minutes until the explosion, he said in Japanese. 9 minutes, James whispered. You think you've won, Kemp continued. But here's what you didn't count on. A 12-year-old kid who speaks Japanese. He heard your guards in the garage. We found both bombs. It's over, Takashi. Another pause. Longer this time. When Fukuda spoke again, his voice was cold. Both bombs? You don't know there are 3 bombs, he said in Japanese. James's blood turned to ice. 3 bombs. He said 3 bombs. Where's the third one? Kemp demanded into the phone. Fukuda laughed again. Enjoy the reunion, Kemp. In hell, he said in Japanese. The line went dead. 3 bombs, Rodriguez said. Garage, maintenance room, and... Linda's eyes went wide. My cleaning cart. When I left it in the garage, I didn't check, she grabbed Rodriguez's arm. The supplies closet. First floor. That's where we store all the carts overnight. If someone planted something in mine. The first floor is where the building's main support columns are, Kemp said, already understanding. You blow those, the whole structure comes down. Rodriguez pulled his radio. All units, first floor supplies closet, possible explosive device. Static. The radio was dead. The lockdown had cut all communications except hardwired systems. How long to override the lockdown? Rodriguez asked. Kemp looked at his screen. 90 seconds. But... The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then the emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. They're cutting building power, Kemp said. Whoever set this up, they're ensuring maximum casualties. No lights, no communications, no elevators except service. The service elevator, James said suddenly. It runs on independent power. Someone can still get to the first floor. I'll go, Rodriguez said. You don't know which cart is mine, Linda said. Yellow cart, identification tag LC06, third row from the door. She looked at her son. James, baby, you stay with Mr. Kemp. Rodriguez gets that bomb out of the building. Mom. Listen to me. Linda gripped his shoulders. You were brave tonight. The bravest person I've ever known. Now I need to be brave too. And I need you to trust me. Rodriguez was already moving toward the door. Linda, describe everything about that cart. Any detail that helps me identify it. As Linda rattled off descriptions, Kemp's computer beeped. Lockdown override processing. 60 seconds. The timer in the maintenance room showed 7:23. 7 minutes and 23 seconds. Rodriguez and Linda ran for the service elevator. James watched his mother disappear down the hallway, every instinct screaming to follow her. But Kemp grabbed his shoulder. She's right. You need to stay here. When this lockdown lifts, we need to coordinate evacuation. That means someone who can think clearly under pressure. He looked at James with something that might have been respect. Tonight, you've proven you can do that better than most adults I know. The building shuddered. A distant boom echoed from below. What was that? James asked. Kemp pulled up security feeds on his screen. The garage camera showed smoke, debris. The car bomb. Someone triggered it manually. The guards, James realized. One of them must have gotten free. The explosion had been smaller than expected. The armored Mercedes had contained most of the blast. But it had done something worse. The parking garage's structural integrity was compromised. Cracks spiderwebbed across concrete support columns. If the first floor bomb goes off now, Kemp said quietly, with the garage already weakened, the building won't just lose the 40th floor. The whole structure could collapse. His computer beeped. Lockdown override complete. Stairwells unlocking. Elevators rebooting. Kemp grabbed the office phone, one of the few hardwired systems still working. All floors, this is Richard Kemp. Evacuate immediately. Use stairwells only. This is not a drill. You have 6 minutes to clear the building. Through the windows, James could see lights coming on in nearby offices as people who'd been working late suddenly realized something was wrong. In the streets below, fire trucks and police cars were arriving, alerted by the garage explosion. The maintenance room timer showed 6:11. Rodriguez's voice crackled over the radio, barely audible through static. First floor. Multiple carts. Searching for LC06. Linda's voice came through. Third row yellow cart. My name tag is still clipped to the handle. Got it. There's definitely something here. Metal box, wired to, the radio cut out. Rodriguez. Kemp shouted into the phone. Rodriguez, respond. Nothing. James ran to the window. 40 floors below, he could see the building's main entrance. People were streaming out, running for the perimeter that police were establishing. Fire trucks had their ladders extended. Bomb squad vehicles were rolling up. But his mother was still somewhere on the first floor with a bomb that could bring down the building in 6 minutes. I have to go down there, James said. Son, you can't. She's my mom. James's voice cracked. I can't just stand here and... The service elevator dinged. The doors opened, and Rodriguez stumbled out, carrying a metal box covered in wires. His hands were shaking. Behind him, Linda emerged, face pale but determined. It's not stable, Rodriguez said. I tried to disconnect it, but the wires are rigged. Any attempt to disarm triggers immediate detonation. We have to get it out of the building. 5 minutes and 30 seconds, Kemp said, looking at the device's timer. That's not enough time to get to ground level and clear the blast radius. The roof, Linda said. Service elevator goes to the roof. We get it up there, throw it clear of the building. The fall could trigger it, Rodriguez said. Or save everyone inside, Linda countered. Kemp made a decision. Rodriguez, take it to the roof. I'll coordinate evacuation from here. Linda, James, get to the stairwell. Get out. I'm going with Rodriguez, Linda said. He needs someone to work the elevator controls while he handles the bomb. Mom, no. James. Linda knelt in front of her son, taking his face in her hands. Tonight you saved a man's life by speaking up. You did the right thing even though you were scared. Now I'm doing the right thing. And I need you to be strong enough to let me. Tears streamed down James's face. I can't lose you. You won't. Linda kissed his forehead. I've worked in this building for 6 years. I know every inch of it, including the fastest way off a roof. She looked at Rodriguez. There's a maintenance ladder on the north side. Fire escape route. We throw the bomb south, climb down north. 4 minutes and 40 seconds, Kemp said. Rodriguez and Linda ran for the service elevator, Rodriguez cradling the bomb like a live grenade. James watched the doors close, watched the numbers climb. 41, 42, 43. Kemp put a hand on James's shoulder. Your mother is the bravest person I've ever met. And she raised a son just like her. Through the window, James could see the last evacuees clearing the building. Police were pushing the perimeter back, establishing a wider blast zone. News helicopters circled at a safe distance. The service elevator reached the roof. Floor 45. James's heart hammered in his chest. Every second felt like an hour. Then Rodriguez's voice crackled over the radio. Bomb clear of the building. We're heading for the ladder. 45 seconds. 30 seconds. Kemp pulled James away from the window. Get down. Now. 20 seconds. They crouched behind Kemp's desk, hands over their heads. 10 seconds. James thought about his mother climbing down a maintenance ladder 45 stories up. He thought about Mr. Tanaka teaching him Japanese every Saturday. He thought about doing homework in the parking garage while his mom finished her shift. He thought about how one decision to speak up had led to all of this. 0. The explosion was massive. Even from 40 floors below, the shockwave rattled windows. A fireball erupted above the building, lighting up the night sky. Debris rained down onto neighboring rooftops, onto streets that had been cleared just in time. But TechCore Industries' tower stood firm. Damaged, but standing. James ran to the window, looking up desperately for any sign of his mother. The roof was obscured by smoke and debris. Rodriguez, Kemp said into the radio. Rodriguez, respond. Linda, do you copy? Static. James's world narrowed to the sound of that static. Every other sound, sirens, helicopters, his own heartbeat faded away. Then barely audible, we're okay. Ladder held. We're coming down. James collapsed against the window, sobbing with relief. Kemp stood beside him, hand on his shoulder, watching fire trucks position themselves to help Rodriguez and Linda off the maintenance ladder. She made it, Kemp said quietly. They both made it. 40 floors below, police were moving in to secure the building. Bomb squad was sweeping for any additional devices. Paramedics were treating minor injuries from people who'd been trampled in the evacuation rush. And in the parking garage, 3 security guards sat in handcuffs, waiting for federal agents who were already coordinating with Tokyo police to arrest Takashi Fukuda. James watched his mother finally reach the ground, watched her collapse into Rodriguez's arms, both of them exhausted and covered in soot but alive. She looked up at the building, up to the 40th floor where she somehow knew her son was watching, and waved. James waved back, tears still streaming down his face. She's going to need medical attention, Kemp said, already pulling out his phone. And so are you. Shock, adrenaline crash. I'm calling for. I'm okay, James said, though his hands were still shaking. I just need to see her. They took the stairs down. All 40 floors. By the time they reached the ground level, James's legs were trembling with exhaustion. But the moment he saw his mother standing with paramedics, wrapped in a thermal blanket, he ran to her. Linda caught him in a hug that threatened to crush his ribs. My brave boy, she whispered. My brave, beautiful boy. Over her shoulder, James saw police leading the 3 guards into a van. Yamamoto, wounded shoulder bandaged, looked at James with something that might have been respect. Or hatred. James couldn't tell and didn't care. Richard Kemp approached, flanked by FBI agents who'd arrived with the bomb squad. Linda Carter, he said formally. James Carter. You saved my life tonight. You saved this entire building. There are no words adequate to express. You can start with a raise, Linda said, exhausted humor in her voice. And better health insurance. Kemp smiled. How about I start with a job that doesn't involve cleaning toilets? Director of Facilities Management. Salary commensurate with someone who just prevented a terrorist attack. Full benefits. And he looked at James, a college scholarship fund for your son. Full ride to any university he wants. Including study abroad programs. I'm thinking Tokyo. James's eyes went wide. Really? Really, Kemp confirmed. And James? Thank you. for having the courage to speak up when it mattered most. As FBI agents led Kemp away for debriefing, as paramedics checked Linda and James for injuries, as news crews tried to push through police lines to get the story, James Carter, 12 years old, son of a janitor, speaker of Japanese, saver of lives, finally let himself breathe. It was over. The conspirators would face justice. The building would be repaired. Life would go on. But nothing would ever be quite the same. Because tonight, a boy who the world had taught to stay invisible had spoken up. And in doing so, had proven that sometimes the most powerful voice in the room belongs to the person nobody expected to hear from. 3 months after the night that nearly destroyed TechCore Industries, James Carter walked through the main entrance of the building, not as the invisible son of a janitor, but as a guest of honor. The lobby had been rebuilt. New marble floors, new security systems. The security guard who'd waved at James that night, Jenkins, stood and saluted as James walked past. "Mr. Carter," Jenkins said with genuine respect. James still wasn't used to being called that. "Just James is fine, Mr. Jenkins." "Not anymore, son. You earned that, mister." The executive elevator took him to the 40th floor. Outside Richard Kemp's new office sat Linda Carter at her desk, managing the entire facilities department. She wore a tailored pantsuit now instead of a janitor's uniform. Her nameplate read Linda Carter, Director of Facilities Management. "Baby." She hugged him. "How was the last day of school?" "Good. Mr. Tanaka says I'm ready for the proficiency test." "That's wonderful." She glanced at her watch. "Mr. Kemp is expecting you." James knocked and entered. Richard Kemp looked up from his computer and smiled. In 3 months, their relationship had evolved into mentorship. Kemp met with James weekly to discuss everything from school to career goals to the importance of speaking up against injustice. "James, good to see you. I have news about Fukuda." The investigation into Takashi Fukuda had been front-page news for weeks. "He's agreed to a plea deal," Kemp said. 20 years in a Japanese prison. His company has been dissolved, assets frozen. The 3 guards are cooperating with federal prosecutors. "What about Rodriguez?" James asked. Kemp's face darkened. "He was working for Fukuda. Gambling debts, bad investments. He activated the lockdown to trap everyone inside, but when he saw you and your mother risking your lives, he couldn't go through with it. He saved you both on that roof, then confessed everything to the FBI. What'll happen to him?" "Prison. But less time because he cooperated. People are complicated, James. Rodriguez did terrible things, but in the end, he chose to do the right thing." James thought about redemption and consequences and the gray areas between good and evil. "Now about this summer," Kemp continued. 6 weeks in Tokyo. You'll stay with Mr. Tanaka's brother, who teaches at Waseda University. Full immersion, language, culture, history. When you come back, you'll be ready for advanced placement Japanese at Pacific Hills Academy. Pacific Hills Academy, one of the best private schools in California, on full scholarship courtesy of the Richard Kemp Foundation. And there's something else. Kemp pulled out a folder. The board voted to establish the James Carter Youth Initiative. $2 million annually to provide language education and scholarships for kids from underserved communities. Kids like you. James stared at the documents. His name on official TechCore Industries letterhead. A foundation named after him. "Say you'll be on the board when you turn 16, Kemp said. "Say you'll help us identify other kids who deserve a chance. Say you'll keep being exactly who you are, someone who speaks up when it matters." A knock on the door. Linda entered with Mr. Tanaka. "James," Mr. Tanaka said warmly. "My brother is very excited to host you." "Thank you, Mr. Tanaka. For everything. If you hadn't taught me Japanese. If you hadn't been brave enough to use it," Mr. Tanaka interrupted gently. "Language is just a tool. Courage is what makes it meaningful." Kemp led them to the conference room. Inside were dozens of people, TechCore employees who'd been in the building that night, their families, first responders. When James entered, they applauded. A woman approached, holding a baby. "Mr. Carter James, I'm Patricia Wells. I was 8 months pregnant that night. I delivered my daughter 2 weeks later." She lifted the baby. Her name is Hope. Because that's what you gave us. One by one, people thanked him. A man who'd proposed to his girlfriend the next day because life was too short to wait. A woman who'd reconciled with her estranged daughter. A teenager who decided to study engineering because he wanted to build things that kept people safe. James felt overwhelmed. He'd just been a kid who overheard something terrible and refused to stay silent. As the celebration continued, James stood by the window. His mother joined him, putting an arm around his shoulders. "You okay, baby?" "I keep thinking, what if I'd just gone home? What if I'd been too scared to say anything?" "But you weren't," Linda said. "You saw something wrong and you spoke up, even though you were terrified. That's courage. Not being unafraid, but being afraid and doing the right thing anyway." "Mom, do you ever regret those years being treated like you were invisible?" Linda was quiet for a moment. "Every job I've ever had, people looked through me like I wasn't there. And yes, that hurt. But being underestimated is a kind of power. People say things around you they'd never say if they thought you mattered." Those guards spoke Japanese because they never imagined the cleaning lady's son would understand them. She turned to face him. "Being invisible and being powerless aren't the same thing. I raised you. I kept a roof over our heads, hope in your heart. That's real power. Not from money or titles, but from refusing to let the world tell you who you are." Kemp approached with drinks. "I wanted to propose a toast." The room quieted. 3 months ago, Kemp began, someone tried to kill me. They thought money and power made me invincible. But I wasn't saved by anything I built. I was saved by a 12-year-old boy who had the courage to speak up. I was saved by his mother, who risked her life to protect people who'd spent years not even seeing her as human. He looked around the room. Every person here owes their life to someone the world taught them to ignore. I hope we never forget that lesson. That we never again walk past someone without seeing their humanity. To James Carter, Kemp said. And to Linda Carter. And to everyone who refuses to stay silent when staying silent is easier. To James and Linda, the room echoed. Later that evening, as James and his mother rode the bus home, they could afford a car now, but Linda said the bus kept them grounded. James asked, "Mom, what do I say when people call me a hero?" Linda considered this. "You say thank you. And then you remember that being a hero isn't about being special. It's about doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, even when you're scared." She looked out the window. "There are heroes on this bus right now, baby. That woman working 2 jobs to keep her kids in school. That man studying for his citizenship test. That teenager standing up to bullies. Heroism isn't rare. It's just usually invisible." "Like you were invisible," James said. "Like I was invisible," Linda agreed. "Until the moment I wasn't." The bus pulled up to their stop. As they walked toward their apartment, which would soon be replaced by a small house Linda was buying with her new salary, James thought about how his life had been shaped by small moments. Mr. Tanaka offering to teach him Japanese. His mother insisting he meet her every night. His decision to arrive early, to actually listen to the conversation happening nearby. Small moments that led to enormous consequences. That night before bed, James opened his Japanese workbook and wrote in careful characters, "Words can save lives." Then he added in English, "But only if you're brave enough to speak them." If this story of courage, dignity, and the power of speaking up when others stay silent moved you, subscribe to the channel for more stories proving that heroism isn't about being the strongest or the richest. It's about being brave enough to do what's right when it would be easier to look away. Because you never know when your voice, your knowledge, your willingness to act might be the thing that saves a life. James Carter was just a kid who learned Japanese and refused to stay silent. But in doing so, he proved that the most powerful weapon against injustice isn't money or status or force. It's the courage to speak up when everyone expects you to stay quiet.